mobility impairments, somebody with anxiety issues, and you use these personas to start thinking about whether services or digital training materials or accommodation is actually accessible to those people. So we're going to do an exercise like that today. First of all, we'll introduce the personas and the exercise, and then we're going to get you to sign up to the Moodle platform. Who has so far signed up to the Moodle platform?
Well, sir, we are facing a sort of a problem here. The email verification email is not coming to our email address.
Oh, okay, so we have a small technical problem. Okay.
Can you raise your hand if you have managed to
I have connection. So how many have connections? You may raise hand and internet connection.
So most people are, is anybody experiencing problems
Have you
with
got the internet connection?
internet connection?
Have you managed to create your account? Okay, can you please raise your hand if you have managed to create your account? Yes, I can see a good number of you here, there. Okay, so we need some representative at least from the table so that we can, at least one user can use the exercise. Because it's going to be a group discussion afterward. Okay, so if one of you got the access, that we'll do for this time being, but we're going to see the technical issues later.
So the idea is, we'll introduce you to the exercise quite slowly. We'll show you, we'll talk about personas. These fictional characters, I understand Finn, he's a visually impaired user. He might have problems in terms of accessing and onboarding university. He might have problems navigating towards a classroom. Finn might, due to the accommodation, he might have problems accessing the digital training materials. Then, Nick has produced some nice course content in a computer science subject, but without any accessibility considerations. Then we want you to look at all the resources that are available to that student, Finn, in terms of how you design course material for him, about how you might design accessibility to services, and we want you to redesign that course content taking into account those considerations. And then we're going to, is that then put through an accessibility check, Nick?
Yes.
And then we're going to take your redesigned course content and put it through an accessibility checker to give you a written feedback on what you've included, the good points you've done, but the points that still exist by which you could still improve the accessibility of those materials. Then after lunch, we want you to come back and talk, reflect upon that exercise. Whether you found the personae and the guidelines useful, and whether your knowledge of inclusion based on that exercise has improved. Whether you find it practically helpful, that if you had a student with that persona, you will feel more confident and more equipped and more resourced to support them in education. We have some nice posters here produced by the Home Office. These are designing the things you should do in designing materials and you shouldn't do for somebody with a physical or motor disability, autistic spectrum, dyslexia, anxiety due to mental health issues in higher education, deaf or hard of hearing, somebody who might be using assistive technology, and people with low vision. We'll scatter these throughout the room, but the exercise I'm going to give you has links to all of these posters and all of these guidelines on the toolkit. It's just handy that these are printed out too. Some of the lecturers at my university have these printed out in their offices so they can constantly refer to them. Any questions before we start? This is all completely interactive today, so please feel free to say stop, I haven't got an internet connection, stop, I haven't set up my Moodle account, stop, I desperately need coffee. Okay, anything else you want to introduce at this point? I'm here with my assistants, incredible. So these are people who are delivering all the time, so they're going to really help you today.
You can go with this demo button which shows.
So you can just give briefly. So
On what we'll be doing today as the interactive exercise. And I keep thinking this is a touchscreen and it's not. So we don't want this to be a human-computer interaction lecture, but we're going to use a technique known as personas. So personas are really fictional, research-based representation of users with a range of impairments. And we're going to get the tables organized so you have a persona each. And from that, you think about what it's like to be a wheelchair user, or a person who has low vision, or in fact if you're a teacher, and how you might inhabit their space and have some empathy with them and some understanding of their challenges, limitations, and talents, so that when you're designing services or accommodation or entrance exams or even digital training materials, you think about them and it helps you in design. So, the first persona we have, and we're going to assign this because there's 6 tables, we're going to assign this to 2 of the tables, is Finn. And these personas were based or developed at the University of Edinburgh as design tools or design probes. So Finn is an international student. Finn has exceptionally good academic record and skills and is keen to maintain his achievements. Finn has limited vision and can read using a magnifier, but his eyes can get tired after looking at screen-based documents for too long. Finn also has challenges in finding their way around the campus at Edinburgh. Okay, so you get to know a bit about Finn, and then you keep Finn printed out in front of you or in your head. So when you're designing materials or services, you're thinking about their challenges and their abilities too. So, if you all have this document in front of you, does everyone have this document? Here are the steps, the basic hyperlinks to all the resources on the toolkit that will help you design materials, digital training materials for Finn. So if I press the first one, these are practical examples to help fit blind students in higher education. So it takes you to screens reading software, guidelines for campus navigation, inclusive learning platforms for blind students, and guidelines and case studies. Here are all the links to assistive technology, which is free or open source or readily available, the best open source and freely available assistive technology that you can use for Finn, including things like JAWS, Naturally Speaking, Braille Touch Note, Seeing AI. It also has a range of apps that assist your students with low vision that you can use here in Bangladesh for campus navigation and orientation. It also has a range of inclusive learning platforms and guidelines and case studies. So that was the first link for Finn. The second link is practical instructions and examples to help students with low vision. These are things that make digital learning materials much more accessible to somebody with low vision. Zoom text, Supernova magnifier, built-in open operating system tools, and accessibility plugins that you can use to assist Finn. This is also how you create accessible PDFs or large print and custom format documents, or how you caption or audio describe your lectures to help somebody with low vision. Again, a whole range of resources there. This is how you create accessible documents for a whole range of students with impairment. Remember yesterday, we talked about all of our guidelines are for inclusive design. That means if you follow these guidelines, all students will be able to access your digital training materials. Here are the relevant parts of the toolkit. It covers font, color, heading styles, layout, writing style, and then you go deeply into each one of those guidelines on the toolkit. Key points that you can consider when writing digital training materials so they're accessible by all. Then these are the posters. This link here is just to these posters. If you're on one of the tables that are looking at people with low vision, impairment, if I can find it, here it is. These two here. Okay, but they're all, we've given you links to these digitally available copies too. So that's Finn, and two of the tables will be working with Finn. Where's my document gone? There it is. Yeah. Cool. Then to the tables, we want to consider if you're supporting a student who has mobility impairments, a wheelchair user. This is Zan. And let me see the picture of Zan. Suzanne is a wheelchair user. If things are suddenly cancelled, such as lectures or personal tutor groups with her tutors, she finds this a significant challenge. She needs lots of warning about these kind of changes in her regular schedule. She has great issues negotiating uneven pavements, especially when it's been raining, and might then be reluctant to leave rooms. Disengaging with campus aspects of the program. Sometimes she needs her lectures to be recorded instead of attending, so you might have to make special considerations. Again, there's a whole list of links. The most important parts of the toolkit that you can easily navigate to get all of the guidelines to help Zan. Accessible campuses, digital training materials, accessible exam arrangements. Again, I'm not going to go through all the links. You have them in front of you. If that's the table you're assigned to, you can explore the links yourself. All we're doing is producing handy and easy links that are a resource kit that allow you to find parts of the toolkit to help Zan. The last one is if you're a faculty member yourself and you really, not as a student but as a teacher, you think, how can I easily support students with a range of impairments or neurodiverse students? And here are the links there too. So in one document, we've created 2 personae and 1 teacher profile. Now we're going to split the tables into, I think we have 5 tables, so there'll be 2 looking after Finn, 2 designing for Zan, and 1 will be a teacher profile. And then Nick, once we do that, will introduce you to some training material that you can load up, which has no accessibility considerations. Then we want you, depending on your profile, to design some materials, take those materials and redesign them so they're much more accessible for that persona, that person you're catering for. So we're going to rearrange, we're going to assign the tables, Mufti.
So I think that right now the tables are more or less full. I think we don't have anyone left in this one. So
Okay.
let's have it, let's say, going next door.
Okay, sure. Who would like to be designing the materials for Finn? Somebody with low vision. Which tables would like to design materials for Finn? Any preferences? One Finn table here,
Yeah.
another
We need
volunteer
another
for Finn.
table.
So we have 2 Finn tables, which is quite difficult to say in English. Finn tables. Okay, so we have 2 people, 2 tables looking after Finn with low vision. Who wants to take adopted profile for Zan, a wheelchair user? Anybody volunteering for Zan, wheelchair users? So we're here.
One more maybe?
One more, so it's one of these 2 tables.
Yeah, so we can request them.
Okay. So you're going to be the teacher profile, is that okay? So you're the general teacher profile. So these tables are really looking at the materials and making special consideration for somebody with low vision. I think these 2 tables are looking at special consideration, taking the untreated learning materials and making special consideration for people with mobility issue. And you lot are the teachers, and you have to make considerations for everybody. Okay? So we've assigned the groups, and we've introduced you to where quick links to where all the supporting materials are. Has anybody got any questions at this stage? No? So Nick is now going to show you exactly where the learning content is. So Nick is a computer science lecturer. He's produced some nice computer science notes for his students, but he hasn't thought about whether some of these students might have a mobility issue or vision issue or any other kind of issue. And he'll introduce you now to the exercise.
Good. So that is good. That is good. So now I will leave the admin page and go in as a normal student. So this is my, this is my new user profile. So this is where you land when you log in, and you'll see at the top there are a few less places to go to. So if we just have a quick look down here, as Arif described yesterday, there are some general resources. These first 2 are some databases from the European projects describing some of the European best practices for people with different disabilities. We have our SCORM content tracker, which at the moment doesn't work. It's always got to be one of those somewhere. We have a glossary of site terms, and then general site information. Oops, I need to use my mouse, never mind. Just about privacy and so on. And then we get the available courses. So these courses that are split up into courses for staff, administrative staff, librarians, technical staff, people like that, and the personae, so somebody with a visual impairment, somebody with a mental health issue, somebody with a learning difficulty. So I'll just go into the visual impairment one, and you'll see pretty much the same thing as you've been introduced. So here on the landing page, we've got the poster there as a handy reminder of what's to do, and then down the side here we have the various things that David talked about. So the creating accessible documents, assistive technologies for vision impairment. If I go into here, it is the same thing, JAWS, NVDA, narrator, voiceover. Not all of them are free, some of them you do have to pay for. Unfortunately, that's the nature of assistive technology. It's a money-making exercise for some people. But so this is the visual impairment aspect. And the other personae are listed here. So if we look at the course categories just below, we have these actual personae. Finn, Joe, who suffers from depression and anxiety, Kieran, who is dyslexic, Mel, who has ASD, Terry, who is hearing impaired, and Zan, who we're looking at as well, the wheelchair user. So if I just go and see Zan, here is Zan's persona, and going to the physical impairment section, again we get the poster and the various aspects to peruse and review. So the other place you'll be going to in this exercise is the teacher. So the teacher is here, teaching staff, and this is a big one. So this is accessibility for teaching staff. And here you've got a huge long list of things, because the teaching staff do need to be aware of a lot more things or teaching staff need to be aware of the general difficulties that people will experience. Now, you obviously don't need to go through all of these at the moment, and I would view this more as a reference to go and look at something if you've got something that you want to find out about. There are some principles that are at the top of the document. This one here, creating accessible documents. That is important for general accessibility usually, and so that's one that I would certainly refer to first off. And as you go down, assistive technologies, so this is talking about the various different assistances, affordances that you may want to make for your students. So that's just a very quick look at what the course contains. At the moment, I'm in the process of implementing the course sign up for each course. When you go into a course, you'll see these dots down the edge. Some of them haven't got dots because Andy, who is my colleague, didn't turn on the sign up for those. So when you go onto a course, you can enroll or unenroll. So here I'm just unenrolling from this course, and then the general accessibility course. I'm now unenrolled, and I can't, if I visit one of these, I can't mark as done. If I enroll on this course, enroll me, I'm now enrolled on this course, and when I visit one of these, I can mark as done, and it will show as green and done on the side there. There's no assessment for these, but it's useful for you if you're logged in and enrolled on a course. You know what you've been to and what you still need to visit. And where have I gone now? Where have I gone? That one there. So now to the exercise. So that is on this front page as well. It's this TNE practical exercise. So this is a short exercise for TNE session 22nd to 24th of June 2025. So that's now, and this is what we're going to be doing. And if we go in here, we will have a very brief description of the task. David's talked about it, so I won't bang on about it anymore. But what you have here is the task and some accessibility tools. So these are the kind of tools that are available for checking your content. So there are a number of tools here. Some of them are browser plugins, Some of them are rather more technical and require a bit of work to get going. Some of them are really quite good. Some of them are a little less good. I think I would suggest the browser extensions, particularly the Silktide and Lighthouse, I think, and I think the Wave as well. I think those are the three that I would suggest. But there's a list of different accessibility tools there. Some of them work in a browser, some of them work on a command line, some of them you need to download a plugin as well as have a browser plugin. They all work in different ways. It's the way of the world that nothing is as simple as falling off a log. So those are your tools for checking the document in the first instance. And if I go back here, and what you do need to do is enroll for this course, or you won't be able to upload your results. So then if I go to download these resources, there's a zip of the HTML that we're asking you to look at. It's only a short HTML. There's not lots in it, but there are lots of issues with it. And it's up to you to find them and create a better working version of the HTML at the end. So there's a zip for download, and then I did go, yes, and then the URL of the non-accessible HTML is here. So this is hosted on a different site as if it was the start of the course, and this is a really non-accessible HTML, Introduction to ML and AI. So it's a very, very brief syllabus of what we might be having a look at. As you can see, it's not very visible. I think I need to...
The last part of it's inaccessible.
Yeah, if I had my mouse...
And one thing I want to say is we have some esteemed professors here. We have Shamid and Arif and Mufti, and they'll be running around helping all the tables through this exercise too. So if you're not getting everything Nick's saying, you do have some very talented professors who are used to instruction who will come and help you with the exercise.
So the content of this course isn't very taxing. What is AI? It's a branch of computer science that aims to create machines capable of intelligent behavior. Machine learning is a subset of AI that allows computers to learn from data without being explicitly programmed. There are some types of machine learning, applications of AI, and some basic concepts, and a couple of pictures. And this contains some of the elements that you will find inaccessible. If I go to one of these plugins that I have here, this plugin, this is telling me that there are a number of things wrong with that. There are 3 errors that it's finding.
Which is one of the 3 you recommended?
Yes, this is Wave. So it's got 3 errors. If I go to details, it tells me what the errors are. Now, quite obviously, we're not going to put any alternative text on the images because that's one of the obvious things. And here it finds the first thing, no alternative text on the images. That's a big no-no for any accessibility. And it has other things like there is no structure in this document. We're not using headers to indicate or hierarchy and order of things. Very small text, that's another thing that's quite obvious there. So that's one plugin. Another plugin here. Not all of them work with Firefox, unfortunately, so I could only get 2 of these to work with Firefox. And this is the other thing. Total Validator needs to actually be running in the background before it will actually work. Okay. So now if I go for Total Validator, and here it's giving me some breakdown of issues. Again, it finds 2 errors and some other errors. So, where am I now? So this is the web page. If I go back, once you've downloaded the zip, opened it up, had a look at it, made some amendments to the zip, you can then upload in the third element of this task. You can upload your completed zip and add a submission, and we will receive your results. So that's pretty much the sequence of work that we're asking you to do. So we'll take a bit of time in the morning, maybe over coffee, to have a bit of a discussion over what's working, what's not, and then we'll have a review of them over lunch and feedback, I think, after lunch, and then it's up to you to tell us what your experiences are, what you think is and isn't good, and what could be improved, and everything else.
Thank you, Nick. So, any questions at this stage to understand the task, before then we're going to have coffee, and then the rest of the morning we'll be doing the task for the persona you've been assigned. And if we don't, this is a little bit of a complex task to begin with. You go onto the Moodle course, you register, you download the inaccessible course material, and then as a group you think, given the guidelines, the posters, the other guidelines, how can I improve this text using whichever the plugins you want to use to check accessibility, make some improvements, and then re-upload to the accessibility checker. Have I made improvements? And discuss within the team what kind of improvements you can make given the guidelines, and how that might have changed your knowledge or changed your understanding about how you can make quick fixes to course material to make it much more universally accessible. Now there's a few technical steps there. We've got a range of people here, but we do have some very high level props here in computer science to help you as well. So please, this is an interactive exercise. We're not really trying to teach you technical skills. We're trying to improve your understanding of how I make digital training materials more accessible, universally accessible. And later on this afternoon, we want you to come up in your teams and tell us about that as well. Not just about your reflections on making things more accessible, but on the course itself, on what we have on the platform. I'm standing in front of the camera. What we have on the platform, how we can improve the platform. If anybody wants to produce a little Moodle course for us based on your own university, your own training center, your own reflections, your own experience, what we're going to do is crowdsource more courses that we'll put on the platform too that you can author yourself. This is a growing, organic set of resources and experiences that we're using in Bangladesh to continually improve and reduce the barriers to higher education and training and vocational education in all sectors, really. And we want you to be part of this.